Hello everybody, my name's Shift. I am going to show you guys how to do a very basic, simple physics swap in Assetto Corsa. It's very simple, very quick. It can get in depth if you wanted to, but it doesn't always have to. So for the demonstration, I'm going to use these two cards here. So usually what I do is I open the two folders that I am doing. So say the Sail Lady is the car that I want to physics swap to. This is the car that I want to drive. And this car is the car that I like how it drives. First things first, if your car has a data ACD folder or the car you're taking from has a data ACD folder, usually what I do, I actually already did this video once and then my microphone wasn't on. At least in OBS it wasn't on. It was muted in OBS. So I got literally all the way to the end of the video and my mic wasn't recording. So I already unpacked these cards' data folders. But if your card does not have an unpacked data folder, then that's what that button is right there. So if you click right here, that's what that button is. If you already have an unpacked data folder, which is what these folders are up here, what I suggest doing is deleting those folders and then re-unpacking the data. That way you know that whatever data you have is going to be the correct data that was installed onto the car. In case anybody went behind you and changed it, or you changed it yourself and just don't remember. So first things first, let's open the data folders. All right. So if you're taking, let's show you what you can just copy and paste over quick. So first thing, I will go through and select, if I'm doing a physics swap, I'll go through and select everything that I want to just put into my cars folder. So later on, we're going to go into the car INI and we're going to go into the suspension INI. But right now, I'm just going to show you all the stuff that you're just going to copy and paste over. So first, we're going to do the arrow. So all this stuff down at the bottom, all the way up to wing animations. That's your arrow right here in the middle. If you have these, you won't always have these. The AOA, CD, and CL, you won't always have them. But if you do, then you want to select those. And then up here at the top, arrow. So you want to be sure that's all the arrow stuff. Next thing I select is brakes. If you have these up here, these are gears. Uh, it's not it's not boost by gear, but it's basically individual gearing adjustment to where you can fine tune your gearing individually. So if you want to keep that, then you can obviously select all these two. So if your car has that, that's what this is going to be. These are your tires. Anything with T curve, wear curve, anything like that, W curve, perf curve, performance curve. Usually anything with the word curve in it is going to be related to tires. So if you want the tires, you're going to also select those. So working our way down here now. Um, the control turbo is directly linked to the engine. So if you're also taking the engine from your car, then you want to select that. That's also going to be something you can copy and paste over. Drivetrain. You want to take the drivetrain from the car that you're physics swapping from. That's what that is. And then the final is what is linked to the drivetrain. The final is basically your gear sets. So you want to be sure that you get the final as well. Engine is exactly what it sounds like. It's your engine. You can take the electronics. You don't have to. It's optional. I don't ever take the electronics from my when I physics swap just because I never have anything inside my electronics folder anyway, unless I'm building a specific car, uh, like a race car or something. I won't have electronics. Um, but you can if you want to. So moving down, next thing you want to get is the power. If you are taking the engine, you want to take the power because this is basically your torque curve. Power INI LUT file is your torque curve. Also, if you're doing like a VDC swap or something like that, or you just like the adjustability of the car, or whatever, you also want to take the setup folder. Setup folder is how you are able to adjust your car inside the server. So you like the way you're able to set the car up that you're physics swapping from, then be sure you take the setup folder as well. Um, and then lastly, tires, all things tires. So like I said, anything with the word curve in it is usually going to be directly related to tires. So you'll be pretty safe to take those. And then the tires, anything also that says tires underscore whatever, you also want to take those. So that's stuff that you can just copy and paste right over into your car's folder without having to adjust anything inside. You won't have to adjust anything inside those. Um, so what you're going to do for adjusting wise, you're going to open the car INI. Usually what I do is I bring whichever one that I am working on over top or whichever one it is over top of the data folder for that car. So we're going to bring the car INI over on that side. We're going to keep this one right here. So the first thing you're going to check at the top is version number. So you want to be sure that the version number for each car is the same. Some cars will say version equals extended dash 2. If that's the case, then that means that car is on extended physics. You can keep it on extended physics. You can change it, whatever. Some guys prefer extended. Some guys don't. Most people don't. I will say that. So working our way down, graphic offsets. I'll show you guys what these do later. These are basically where your body of your car is in accordance to your wheels on your car. I'll show you what it means later. Graphic pitch rotation is exactly what it sounds like. It's the pitch of your car forwards, backwards. Total mass, if you're doing a VDC swap, for instance, this is going to be something you need to take. Total mass. This is the weight of your car. Inertia is also going to be something you're going to need to take if you're doing a VDC physics swap or any series swap, not just VDC, but um, you're also going to have to look at the inertia. This is basically what Assetto registers as the size of your car. And everything registers in meters. So this car is reading at 4.45 meters long. This car is reading at 4.8 meters long. So um, the longer this last number is the most important, in my personal opinion, and a lot of other people's opinions. This last number is the length of your car. The longer this number is, the more, as people say, cheater physics the car will have. It will start to transition like a bus, basically. It'll feel like car's way longer than what it actually is. So that's kind of the basics of basic. Um, this is also I didn't even notice that. This is also here. This is your screen name. This is the name that the car will show up as inside of the server, inside the lobby with everybody when you're driving with everybody. But what you're going to take every time, 100% of the time, what you're going to take when you're physics swapping is right here, the controls. So right here, all the way down to linear steer rod ratio. You don't have to take all these words if you don't want to, but linear steer rod ratio, the last number after the equal sign for that, that's where you're going to want to do the physics swap, or that's what you're going to want to copy and paste over. So you would copy this, paste it over here and here. Fuel tank position, all that stuff's pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to show you guys a little bit and CM showroom after this as well, but so controls, like I said, 100% of the time, you're going to need to copy and paste those over. Um, so last thing you're going to want to do inside the folder, at least, as far as like swapping physics, is you're going to do suspension. So you're going to open up the suspension, same thing as before in the car INI. You're going to check the top where it says version, make sure the version number is the same. This right here, if you see extension here, this is, remember how I said extended physics, extended dash 2? This car was on extended physics before, and it's no longer on extended physics. So if you ever see this inside of a cars folder, you don't have to worry about taking it and pasting it over unless you're doing extended physics. But basic is where usually the cars will start. So wheelbase is wheelbase. This car is 2.15 or 2.515 wheelbase meters, 2.47. So that's the wheelbase of the car. That's where if your wheels are too close or too far apart for your body, that's where you would go to adjust that. CG is the center of gravity for your car. Most cars fall within the 5.2 or 0.5 to 0.53 range. Sometimes they can go like 0.49. That's where about most cars will fall, depending on the location of the engine. But most cars will fall, in that range, unless it's a rear engine car or um, most cars are front engine. But ARB, this is where you can change your ARB for like your stock tune, basically. So this is what the car will load in with stock ARB. So if you want to change your stock tune and you want to know how to change your ARB, that's where you would do it. For physics swaps, for suspension wise, see how this car has double wishbone, this car has strut? Well, if you're going from double wishbone to strut, then you would take the entire whole everything from, for the front at least. You would stop where it says rear in these brackets. Um So you would take the entire thing for the front most of the time. And then you would pay attention to the track where it says track equals 1.5. See how this one says 1.72? Well, if you keep that track width, then your front tires, the track is the width of your front, is the width of your tires, basically, how far apart they're spaced from each other. So basically, your front tires will be way outside of your car. If you put 1.72 on this car that only has 1.53. So that's something to pay attention to. But usually, if you're taking double wishbone to double wishbone, usually I just take hub mass down, to like I said earlier, to where it says rear, and then you would do the same thing for the rear, hub mass down. Um, but if you are completely swapping everything over, then like I said, be sure you pay attention to the track and also the bases. The basey is basically how, if I had to describe it, it's like the height of your springs. Is the best way I can describe it. It's the height of your car. Um, so the lower the number, uh, the softer your car will get. The higher number, the stiffer your suspension will get. I believe that's how it works. I don't really mess with it much. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments. But so yeah, hub mass down most of the time. 90% of the time, that's 99% of the time. That's all you're going to take if you're doing, because you're going to be usually physics swapping the same chassis, like one physics to another, usually same chassis. So that's what you're going to swap inside of the data folders. And like I said, we're going to show you now what you can change inside of the folder as far as stance and alignment goes and everything like that. So let's open the folder back up. We're going to open the data folder. We're going to open the car INI. We're going to open the suspension INI. Now we're going to click showroom. We're going to go in here. We're going to align using data. So that way now the car is appearing as though it would in the server. We're going to bring up these two folders again. And usually you only go in here to check to make sure the car is sitting okay. This car is sitting fine, so there's nothing really that I would change. But I want to show you guys the examples that I was telling you guys earlier. So remember how I said graphic offsets is basically where your car is sitting in accordance to your wheels, your model. Let's show you what I mean by that. So this one is -1.3 right now. This one is -1.3 right now. Let's go ahead and change it to -1.8. Go file, save. Is it? Oh, the data's packed. So if your data's packed, you will not see any changes made. I forgot to tell you guys that. Let's not save this. Let's close this one as well. So data ACD folders. So if you have a data ACD folder, you won't see any changes. So in this instance, I've already unpacked the data. You want to be sure before you delete this data ACD folder, you want to be sure you have a data folder up here. Like I said earlier in this video, you want to be sure that you have the data that's inside this data ACD folder. This is basically a locked data folder, or a locked folder of this folder that can't be edited. So like I said earlier, you would click this button here to get that. So we're going to go ahead and delete this just so we can see the changes that we're doing to the car. Oh, sorry. Let's open the folder again. Data, car, suspension. Close this. Open showroom again. All right, so car, like I said, it's at the negative. Well, it was at -1.3. So we're going to go ahead, change it again. We have to align the data. All right. So it was at 1.3. Change it to 1.8 like we were trying to do earlier. Now save it, and you see how the wheels moved. So that's what I mean. It's where your model is sitting, and I'm not sure if it's moving the wheels or if it's moving the model. I think it's moving the model, not positive. But that's what that does. So if your car is off center, then that's how you change that. Wheelbase changes the distance apart from your tires, the spacing of your tires. Puts them further apart. Inertia. Let's show you what that does. So, like I said, this is the box that is registering how big your car is. So that box is what Assetto says that's what this Silady is, how big the Silady is. So if you adjust the size of this, if I make this, make it stupid just for the sake, if I make it 8.8, save. Now look, now it's literally, if I was to go drive this car right now, it would transition like a bus. It would be super smooth, but it would be the most cheater physics you'd ever seen in your life. So that's basically what that does. Um, and most people usually add 0.05 to their cars to get them to feel right, because for some reason, if you set it exactly to the size of your car, it doesn't feel quite right. So say your car exactly right is zero point 0.5 or 4.5. If you make it 4.55, then that I've heard that that's what makes it feel like the car in real life. Um, so that's kind of that's kind of the car I in total. Um, And then if you want to check your collider, this is how you do that. Like basically this is like where the car is registering where it will collide with other cars and the walls and stuff like that. The green or orange and red, whatever color it is. I don't know, it's a bunch of different colors. Um, that's what that is. Your collider. These down here at the bottom, these red boxes, these are your data colliders. These are your like ground colliders basically. You change those inside of the data folder. There's just a inside your data folder, there's just a folder called colliders. And I'm not really going to show you, it's pretty self-explanatory. You only need one, you don't need all these, you only need one that goes across the whole bottom of your car. So if it were me, I would delete all these right here, and then I would adjust this one. You know, you got center and you got size, so these read XYZ. So it's pretty easy to adjust and put right and everything like that. And all you want to do is you want to be sure that with you line it up with the bottom of your side skirt right here, or just slightly above, like most people do, so that way you got some give to it. Um, Wings. This is your arrow. This is where everything is placed. And lastly, this is your fuel tank. This is, or not lastly, I'll show you one more thing. This is your fuel tank position. And these all can be changed with one simple click. So you have to be sure you're clicked inside the showroom, and then you press T. And now everything will show up. Everything that you, well, not flames, not wheel, well, flames, yeah, not wheels, not the collider, and not the inertia box. You can't move those. But you can move your wings and you can move your fuel tank. And then when you're done moving them to where you want them to be, you just click save move points. I'm not going to save it, but you would click save move points after you move it to where you want it to be. Um, I made this a little more in depth than I wanted it to be, and I'm sorry for that. I just wanted to do a simple physics swap, but we're going to go ahead and do the last thing that I would check if I was doing a physics swap, um, or like BDC or something for myself. This is your wheels. So let's go ahead and align the data. This is where your wheels are registering in the game. So you see how this green circle is registering just a little bit bigger than the tire itself. So the way you adjust that, oh, let's show you this first. I'm sorry. I do apologize. All right, so Basie, remember how I was saying Basie earlier? We're just gonna go super crazy with it. Basie, adjust the height of your suspension. So 1.5, the front raise up, just like that. So this is kind of adjusting the stiffness of your suspension. So like I said, the lower number will make it softer. Usually you see where this one's set. That's usually around where most drift cars are set to, 0.1 to 0.09, usually negative. Negative, be sure it's negative. 0.1 to 0.09 is usually around where you'll see most cars, and they go up to about 0.14, that I've seen. Is where you'll find most drift cars, and that's kind of what this demonstration is kind of veered towards, is drifting. So but yeah, basically will adjust the height of your suspension. Track, like I said, it adjusts. Remember how that other one was 1.72? Let's go ahead and save this. 1.72, and you see tires way out there. So if you want to adjust your tire width, your tire spacing, that's where you would do that at. Um, So now tires, the actual size of your tires, that is going to be inside the tire I tires right here. Um, go back inside showroom. So basically, I usually focus on the rear tire. Um, I'll make the rear tire because it's usually easier to see because it's flat. So I'll go to the rear tire and you'll go to radius. So you see this one is just a little bit bigger, just tiny, just a little bit bigger than what the wheel is. So we're gonna go in here, we're gonna go to radius, and we're gonna go, let's make this point 3005 instead of 3085 and see what happens. All right, so it adjusted it a little bit. Not enough, but a little bit. All right, so let's go 29. All right, that's a little bit better. Still not quite. 2895. And that's a little bit too much. So we're gonna go 2955. That's about right there. Could be a little bit bigger, but that's about where I would set it. And then you would do the same thing for your front tire. So that's how you be sure that whenever you load into game, your tires are sized appropriately. So your car won't be floating in the air or anything like that. It'll be sitting perfectly flat on the ground, So that's kind of the point of that. And then as far as that, I do believe that is everything. And then if you want to check your power of your car and everything like that, then it's this button here. You click this little cog symbol, and then these three options will pop up. I usually always just select the last option. And this will tell you your wheel horsepower, your wheel torque, your crankshaft power, and your crankshaft torque. Um, and then you can save it to adjust it and everything like that, and then your power graph will adjust and whatnot, so you can see, where your car is generating power, and how much. And then if you hold your mouse button and move it along in here, it'll tell you exactly what it's creating, what RPM and stuff like that. So that's another cool little feature inside of a Assetto. And I do, excuse me, I do hope this demonstration worked, like I said, or helped a lot of people. I tried to make it quick. Probably wasn't the quickest, but I see it's been recorded for 22 minutes. So, but anyway, I hope that you guys start making, awesome, awesome cars and swapping your physics and stuff like that, and you know, be more comfortable making your own cars, basically. But yeah, hope it helps. And if you guys have any questions, then reach out to me on Discord. I will post a link to the Discord in the video description. Thanks, guys. All right, this is a quick edit for two things that I forgot to mention that I wanted to show you guys. So first thing, most important one being, remember how I said you can go into showroom, and as long as you're like you click, align using data, and as long as you're clicked inside the showroom where you can move your car around, stuff like this, if you click T on your keyboard, you'll like for your fuel tank and your wings and stuff like that, you can move them around wherever you want to, and then save the move points. You can also do that with your suspension. I forgot to mention that this is how you custom make your own suspension. So if you're somebody who knows how cars are actually set up in real life, you're somebody who builds them, for instance, then this might be very useful to you. It is very fidgety, I will tell you that, but this is how you begin to make your own custom suspension in Assetto. This is the easiest way to go about it because you can visually see the adjustments live, instead of like making the adjustments using numbers inside of the suspension INI, and basically until you know exactly what those values are, adjusting and doing everything, you're basically guessing, unless you just happen to know because you're some sort of genius, which I'm not. I had to do it the hard way, and then I learned you can do it this way. um, so you can adjust your caster, whatever, you just take this, move it back, forwards, whatever. You can adjust your caster right inside here. Whatever you want, you can adjust whatever. So and then you do the same thing. You just click save move points whenever you're done. Um, so I just wanted to show you guys that. And then, for instance, if you are going into a series, like you're making a VDC car because you're trying to get into like a series that gives out VDC license, for instance, um, a lot of times they won't let you adjust your track So you'll have to keep whatever track that they have in the folder that they posted, inside the physics suite they posted. Or there'll be like kind of a range that you can be within. They might let it slide, they might not let it slide. I know that I personally have submitted VDC spec cars and adjusted the track width, and it passed tech, and I've done it where it didn't pass tech. So it's kind of up to the series, I guess. If you are not allowed to adjust your track width, or you just don't like the feeling of the track width adjustment, all the way down at the bottom on most cars, if this isn't at the bottom of your suspension INI, then you can go grab it from another suspension INI and add it to yours. It'll be perfectly fine. It'll work the same. So this is graphic offsets. So basically this adjusts the car graphically without adjusting the car how it feels in the game. So you can physically make your car look stanced properly and everything like that. You know, like you can have your tires reading, the track width reading, and further out or closer together than what it's actually showing. Through graphic offsets. So I just wanted to show those, and then if you can obviously adjust them positive and negative. So I just wanted to show that just in case, like I said, that you guys aren't able to adjust your track width for a series or whatever if you're doing a physics off for a series. So just wanted to get that in there. Sorry about that, everybody, but hope you enjoy the tutorial, and join the Discord. We'll catch you on the track. See you.